dividing a polynomial by a binomial. Before we do one of those, let's just do a basic division with numbers. Let's do 31 divided by 5. Here we go. We're going to divide. Let's make it 311. So we can't divide 5 into 3. If you want to, you can put a 0 there. But notice we're doing the first digits of each number. 5 into 3 won't go. 5 into 31 will. It goes 6 times, so we'll put that 6 right above the 1. That's the last number that we used. So the first thing that we did, we divided. Now we're going to multiply 6 times 5, which is 30. So the second thing we did was multiplied. And then we're going to subtract 31 minus 30 is 1. So, and then the last thing we're going to do is bring down the 1. Here are the same steps we're always going to do with long division. Let's finish this problem. 5 goes in 11 twice. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract. You get a remainder of 1. Now that remainder we don't do R1. We do plus 1 over the divisor. 5 is called the divisor. 311 is called the dividend. 62 is called the quotient. And 1 is called the remainder. So now let's look at what we're going to be doing. We're going to be dividing expressions. And so, I've already listed the steps for you. We're going to be dividing leading terms first. Instead of multiplying, we're going to do a longer form of multiplication. We're going to distribute. Subtract, you may want to think of that as adding the opposite. And then bring down, as always, and then start over the process. So let's do this first example. We're going to set it up the way we normally would. The number being divided into goes on the inside, and the number that does the dividing, the divisor, goes on the outside. So now when we divide, we're going to do leading terms only. So all that means is we're going to divide x into x squared. Now if you need to, come over here to the side and do that. Now if you need to rewrite x squared as x times x, that's fine. Now, we're dividing x and x squared. That's what I'm doing over here. So, this x is going to cancel with that x, leaving an x. What that means is that x goes in x squared x times. Now, I don't want to put the x here. I want to line up my like terms. So I'm going to put the x there, because I'm keeping all my x terms lined up. We're going to distribute. See, when you do numbers, you multiply back through. We're doing the same thing, except we're going to distribute. We're going to take the x times the x and the x times the 2. That's what we mean when we say distribute. So x times x is x squared. X times plus 2 is plus 2x. And now we're going to subtract. I highly recommend doing this. I highly recommend putting minus signs in there. And if you need to change it to add the opposite, that's fine. But I strongly recommend putting both minus signs in. Now x squared minus x squared better give you a 0. We need those to cancel out. If they don't, then you did something wrong. So x squared minus x squared is 0, which we're not going to write that down. 5x minus 2x is 3x. And now we're going to bring down. And we're going to start the process over. X into 3x. If you need to, come to the side. We're dividing 3x by x. Those x's cancel, leaving 3. So that means x goes into 3x a positive 3 times. And now we're going to multiply. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 2 is 6. Since it's both positive, we'll keep it positive. Now we're going to subtract. Once again, strongly recommend putting in the minus signs. This is where people tend to miss these. 3x minus 3x is 0, which it better be, and 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Now we can't divide x into negative 2 because there's no x there to divide out. What that means is that's our remainder. So our final answer is x plus 3, and we're going to place the remainder over x plus 2. So that's our final answer. Now, let's do another one. Question B. 2x squared minus x minus 3 divided by 2x minus 3. Once again, let's write it down properly. And we're going to do first terms again. We're we're going to divide 2x squared by 2x. And if you need to, write that as 2xx divided by 2x. 2's cancel, x is cancel, and it leaves an x. So 2x goes in 2x squared, x times. Distribute x times 2x. 2x squared, because x times x is x squared, which better be the same thing. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Now we're going to subtract. Strongly recommend putting the minus signs in. So 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0. Now watch this. If you need to, put a 1 in there. So this is negative 1 minus a negative 3. If you want to, write it as add the opposite. Add the opposite. Negative 1 plus a positive 3x is a positive 2x. Bring down the minus 3. Let's divide again. 2x into 2x. Well, hopefully you know that anything divided by itself is a 1. So 2x divides into 2x, a positive 1 times. And 1 times 2x minus 3 is 2x minus 3. Anything subtracted from itself, 2x minus 3 minus 2x minus 3 is 0. But if you want to, put in the minus signs. 2x minus 2x is 0. A negative 3 minus a negative 3 is the same as negative 3 plus a positive 3, which is a 0. Remainder is 0. So therefore, this is our quotient, our final answer. Strongly recommend doing what I'm doing with the minus signs, with the subtraction. That's where it's always missed. Now let's do question C. We'll do it on this paper. Let's write it down. X squared minus 26 goes underneath, and the x plus 5 goes on the inside. Before we do anything, when we divide x into x squared, which is the same as x over x is canceled, leaves an x. We don't have any place to put the x up here because we want to always keep the like terms lined up. What that means is we're missing a term. So we're going to rewrite this dividend, and we're going to put in that missing x term. And the only number we can use that doesn't change the problem is a 0. We're going to use a plus 0. So the missing term that we're going to use is plus 0x. So now when we divide x and x squared and we get x, we're going to place it right above the x term. Now let's distribute x times x times 5. Notice the signs are all positive, so now let's subtract. Those cancel out. 0 minus negative 5, 0x minus negative 5x. Let me say it again. 0x minus 5x is negative 5x. Bring down the minus 26. Let's divide again. First terms only. X into negative 5x. X is canceled and it leaves a negative 5. That's what goes up here above the constants. These are the constants. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times positive 5 is negative 25. Once again, this is where it's missed. Strongly recommend placing in the minus signs. If you need to, add the opposite. Change, 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 change. Negative 5x plus 5x is 0. Negative 26 plus a positive 25 is a negative 1. That's our remainder. So the final answer is x minus 5 plus negative 1 over x plus 5. Now if you want to, you can write it like this. X minus 5 minus 1 over x plus 5. Either way is fine. Now let's do the last one. It's a little bit longer, but that's okay. Same steps apply. Now when I write this down, the first thing I'm going to notice is I'm missing the x squared term. I'm going to place that in with a 0 x squared, because I'm always thinking x cubed, the next one should have been x squared, so we're going to use 0 x squared to substitute it. And then the x term is already there, and then a constant. That's what's always going to happen. Divided by x plus 2. Now if this dividend or this divisor we're missing a term, I might be tempted to put one in there also, but most times I don't. So now let's divide first terms. X into 3x cubed. And hopefully start recognizing that x is going to cancel one of those, leaving x squared. So the answer is 3x squared. I'm going to write that above the x squared term, always keeping the like terms lined up. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times 2, positive 2, is a positive 4x squared. Once again, I highly recommend putting in the minus signs. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 minus 4 is negative 4, x squared. Bring down the negative 4x. Don't need to bring down the plus 8 yet. X goes into negative 4x squared, is what you're thinking. That x is going to cancel one of those, leaving an x. So that's negative 4x. That's going to go up there, above the x term. Negative 4x times x is negative 4x squared. Negative 4x times 2 is a negative 8x. Highly recommend placing the minus signs in. Change, 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 change. That becomes a 0. That becomes negative 4x plus 8x is a positive 4x. Let's bring down that plus 8. X into 4x. And when you get the hang of this, hopefully you start recognizing how to do this without having to write it down. X goes in 4x 4 times. Write that above my constant. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times positive 2 is positive 8. Subtract. Anything subtracted from itself is always 0. And that's our answer. 3x squared minus 4x plus 4. And that's it.